Libra, you have until Sunday, not Monday, not next week, Sunday. And I'm not being dramatic, I'm being specific, because something is going to happen on Sunday that will completely change the dynamic of a situation you've been carrying for too long. And if you don't know about it beforehand, if you're not prepared, you're going to react the wrong way, you're going to make the wrong decision, you're going to say the wrong thing, and then there's no going back. So listen to me, listen carefully, because what I'm about to tell you isn't pretty. It's not inspiring. It's not one of those sweet messages of expression and gratitude. It's a warning. One of those warnings you feel in your gut before you feel it in your head. One of those you already kind of know but are pretending you don't because it's easier that way. On Sunday, you'll come face to face with a truth you've been avoiding. It could be in a conversation. It could be in a situation. It could be alone, looking in the mirror. But it will happen. And how you react in that specific moment will define the next 3 months of your life. So it's not dramatic, it's mathematical. And before you ask how I know, let me explain what's happening astrologically that makes Sunday a point of no return. The moon will enter Aries on Sunday morning. And Aries is your opposite sign, the axis that forces you to stop balancing and start choosing. The moon there activates your 7th house, relationships, partnerships, everything you do in the name of harmony. And it will make a tense aspect with Pluto. Pluto, which has been in Aquarius for months, exposing truths you'd rather not see. So that's it. It's the moon saying, look what you've been ignoring, and Pluto saying, now you have no choice, you have to deal with it. And you know exactly what I'm talking about, don't you? That person, that situation, that pattern you repeat. You know, you've always known. Libra isn't blind. Libra sees everything. You just have this annoying ability to see and still choose not to act because action means discomfort. And discomfort is what you avoid most. But Sunday won't give you a choice. Someone will force you to choose. Or you will be forced by the situation. It doesn't matter. The point is, you will have to take a stand. And I know that terrifies you, because taking a stand means someone will get hurt. Someone will be dissatisfied. The balance you worked so hard to maintain will be destroyed. But here's the secret. That balance is already shattered. You're just holding on to the pieces, pretending you're still whole. And holding on to pieces hurts your hands. You've been bleeding for months, trying to maintain an illusion of harmony. And Sunday will be the day you finally let go, or are forced to let go. So let's talk about what specifically you need to know before that happens. First thing, stop thinking you can control the other person's reaction. That thing you do, that mental calculator where you try to predict how the person will react if you say X or Y, where you rehearse 1,000 versions of the same conversation trying to find the magic formula that doesn't hurt anyone. Stop. Because it doesn't exist. There's no way to set a limit without someone testing that limit. There's no way to say no without someone being dissatisfied. And trying to control it only keeps you trapped. On Sunday, you'll need to say something you've been holding back. It could be in a relationship. It could be with family. It could be at work. But you'll need to say it, and the person will react however they react. And that's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to tell the truth. What the person does with the truth is their problem. And I know you're thinking, but if I say that, they'll leave. Perhaps. But let me ask you a question. If someone only stays in your life when you lie, when you belittle yourself, when you ignore your own needs, is that person truly in your life? Or are you in their life as a convenient accessory? Think about it, because Sunday will put you right at that crossroads, and you'll have seconds to decide. And if you don't have clarity beforehand, you'll do what you always do. You'll give in, you'll swallow it, you'll smile and say everything's fine when it's not. And then you'll spend another 3 months feeling resentful, feeling used, feeling small. And honestly, you can't take another 3 months of this. You're tired, I know you are. Because when Libras are tired, they have a specific way of being tired. It's not just physical, it's existential. It's that tiredness of pretending, of performing, of being the person everyone needs instead of being who you really are. And Sunday will give you a way out. It won't be pretty, it won't be comfortable, but it will be real. And real is what you need. Because you've spent so much time in constructed scenarios, in manufactured harmony, that you've forgotten what it's like to stand on solid ground. So the second thing you need to know is, the person or situation that will put pressure on you on Sunday is not your enemy. She is a messenger. It's the universe using that person, that situation, to force you to do what you don't have the courage to do alone, to push you when you're paralyzed, and you might get angry with the person. You probably will, because nobody likes being pushed. But deep down, in an honest part of you, you'll feel relief, because finally, you don't have to pretend anymore. Finally, the truth is on the table. Finally, you can stop carrying this weight alone. Yes, the conversation will be difficult. It will be uncomfortable. There may be tears. There may be anger. There may be heavy silence. But on the other side, there is clarity. And clarity, even when it hurts, is better than comfortable confusion. Third thing, don't try to solve everything on Sunday. You're going to have a conversation. You're going to set boundaries. You're going to tell the truth. And then what? You're going to immediately want to start fixing things, explaining, smoothing things over, making the other person feel better about what you just said. Stop. Resist that urge, because if you do that, you undo what you just did. You say you need space, and 5 minutes later you're explaining that it's not forever, that you still care, that you just need some time, but not much. And then the person doesn't take it seriously. Because you didn't take it seriously, you diluted the truth, trying to make it palatable. So on Sunday, when you speak, and then you stop. And you let things get uncomfortable. Let the silence exist. Let the person process it. You don't need to fix it immediately. In fact, you can't. Because fixing it before the person has digested it is manipulation disguised as care. And I know it's going to be difficult, Libra, because you'll feel that physical urge to do something, to fill the silence, to relieve the tension. But this time, you take a deep breath and endure it. You stop being uncomfortable. Because discomfort is not the enemy. Discomfort is a sign that something real is happening. Fourth thing, and this is important, don't negotiate what is non-negotiable. You know those things you say are important, but you always end up making exceptions for? Those boundaries you set but always bend when someone puts a little pressure on you? Those needs of yours that you classify as essential but always put on the back burner when someone needs you? On Sunday, you identify what is non-negotiable, and you don't negotiate, because here's the truth no one tells you. When you negotiate what is non-negotiable, you teach people that your boundaries are suggestions, that your needs are optional, that you don't respect yourself enough to uphold what you've established. And then people treat you accordingly, not because they are bad, but because you taught them that they can. You set a precedent, and now they expect you to always do so. So on Sunday, when you establish something, you keep it. Even when the person cries, even when the person calls you selfish, even when you feel that familiar guilt rising, you keep it. Because setting a limit for the first time means breaking a pattern, and breaking patterns always comes with resistance. Always. And resistance isn't a sign that you're wrong, it's a sign that you're changing. And change bothers those who benefited from your old pattern. Fifth thing, you'll want to let the person know before Sunday. You'll want to send that message today, tomorrow, Friday. You'll want to give them a heads up. You'll want to prepare the ground. And I understand why. You want to lessen the impact. You want to give the person time to prepare. Because deep down you're still trying to control how this will happen. But don't do that, because if you give them advance notice, you give them time to mount a defense, to prepare arguments, to create strategies on how to make you change your mind. And Sunday needs to be spontaneous. It needs to be the moment. It needs to be you reacting to the real situation in real time, not you executing a rehearsed plan. Then you keep it. You process it internally. You prepare yourself emotionally. But you don't alert the other person. You let it happen organically, because organic is what has power. Organic is what cannot be manipulated. And sixth thing, perhaps the most difficult, you need to be prepared for the possibility that the person might choose to leave. That, you set the boundary. You tell the truth. And the person decides they don't want a relationship where they can no longer do what they've always done, where they can no longer use you as they always have, where they need to truly respect you, and they leave. And you're going to feel panic. That panic of wondering if I did the right thing. Did I ask for too much? Should I have stayed quiet? And you'll have that urge to run after it, to say that's not what you meant, to backtrack. And that's where you breathe. And remember that if someone leaves because you asked for basic respect, that person never respected you. If someone leaves because you set a healthy boundary, that person only wanted a distorted version of you. If someone leaves because you finally told the truth, that person only wanted the convenient lie and you let it go. Not because you don't care, but because you finally care for yourself too. And sometimes loving someone means letting them go, especially when staying means betraying yourself. And it's possible that the person won't leave. The person might stay. Test them. Resist. But they might stay. And then you'll have to maintain the boundary even with the person present. You'll have to say no even when they insist. You'll have to repeat it as many times as necessary. Because people don't believe in change the first time. They need to see consistency. So you're going to have to be annoying. You'll have to repeat the same thing over and over again. You'll sound like a broken record, and you'll feel bad about it. You'll feel inflexible. You'll feel less like yourself. But in reality, you're being more yourself than ever, because you're finally standing up for who you are. Now let me tell you what can happen if you ignore this warning. If you arrive on Sunday unprepared, if you react automatically, if you give in as you always have, what happens? Short term, you avoid immediate discomfort. The person is satisfied. The superficial harmony continues. You breathe a sigh of relief, thinking you survived another one. But in the medium term, you wake up Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday feeling that weight, that regret, that anger at yourself, because you had the chance, the perfect chance. The energy was there, the moment was there, and you let it pass. And now you'll have to wait weeks, maybe months, until another opportunity aligns. And in the meantime, you keep carrying this burden. In the long term, you look back a year from now and see that you're in exactly the same place, maybe even worse, because the pattern has deepened. The person has become more comfortable disrespecting you. You've become more accustomed to betraying yourself. And the you from a year ago looks at the you of now with disappointment, because you knew. You always knew, and you didn't act. So no, don't let this happen. Not again. Because you deserve better than repeating cycles. You deserve better than lesser versions of yourself. You deserve the freedom to tell the truth, even when it hurts. And let me tell you a secret that few Librans know. The fear you feel of being seen as difficult, as complicated, as too demanding, that fear was planted in you. It was taught. Because when you were a child, you realized that when you were agreeable, when you didn't complain, when you made life easier for adults, you were loved. And you learned that love is conditional, that you need to earn it, that you need to be easy. But that's a lie. Real love doesn't demand that you be easy. Real love allows you to be human, complicated, full of needs, and yet it still chooses you. And if someone only loves you when you're convenient, that's not love, it's convenience. And you've spent too much time confusing the two. So on Sunday, when you speak, when you ask, when you make a decision, you'll be testing, not the other person, but the nature of the relationship. You'll be discovering if it's love or convenience. And both answers are valuable information, because at least you know, and knowing allows you to choose consciously. And here's what I want you to understand before Sunday arrives. You're not asking too much. Did you hear? You're not asking for too much. Respect isn't asking for too much. Reciprocity isn't asking for too much. Honesty isn't asking for too much. Space when you need it isn't asking for too much. This is basic. It's the bare minimum. And if someone makes you feel that this is excessive, that person is draining you. And you're probably used to it, accustomed to having your needs minimized, accustomed to having your emotions questioned, accustomed to being called too sensitive, too dramatic, too complicated. And you believed it. You internalized it. You started policing yourself, censoring yourself, diminishing yourself before someone else diminished you. But that's enough. Sunday is the day you stop diminishing yourself, the day you occupy the space that has always been yours, the day you say, I matter, and I'm not going to pretend I don't anymore just to make you comfortable. And it's going to be terrifying, because when you spend your whole life small, suddenly becoming big feels wrong. It feels arrogant, it feels selfish, but it's not. It's just the natural size you've always had, but you compress it to fit into spaces that were never meant for you. And some people won't like it. They'll say you've changed, and you have changed. You've changed for the better. But what they're really saying is, you're no longer being who I need you to be. You're no longer making my life easier at the expense of your own. And you're going to have to be okay with that. You'll have to be okay with being the villain in someone else's story, because you can't control narratives. You can't control how people interpret your actions. All you can control is whether your actions align with who you want to be. And if they do, the rest is noise. So let's recap what you need to do before Sunday. 1. You sit with yourself, alone, without distractions, and you ask yourself, what do I really need to say? Not what is polite to say, not what will hurt the least, what is true, and you write it down, not to memorize it, but to clarify it. 2. You identify your non-negotiables, the 3 things you will no longer compromise on. Not 10. 3. Because you need clarity, and clarity comes from focus. So 3 things, and you repeat this to yourself until you internalize it. 3. You make peace with the worst-case scenario. The person leaves, the situation explodes, the relationship ends, and you breathe through it. You imagine, and you realize that you survive, that you always survive, and that surviving without betraying yourself is better than surviving by betraying who you are. 4. You rest. Friday, Saturday, you rest, because you'll need energy, emotional energy, mental energy. So you go to bed early, you eat well, you take care of yourself, because on Sunday, you'll need to be fully recovered. And on Sunday you wake up, you breathe, you remember who you are, and when the moment comes, and you'll feel when it is, you speak. You don't shout, you don't attack, but you speak, firmly, clearly, without excuses, without excessive justifications, just the truth. And then, so you endure the discomfort. You let the person react. You don't try to fix things immediately. You breathe, and you hold on. You stand by what you said. You maintain the boundary. You stand by your truth. And what about the following days? You're going to feel strange. You might feel guilty. You might feel scared. You might question yourself 1,000 times. And that's normal, because you broke a pattern of years, maybe decades. And the brain hates change. It will try to convince you to go back to the old pattern because the old pattern is familiar, but you're not coming back. You feel the guilt. You acknowledge it, and you move on. You feel the fear. You validate it, and you move on. You question yourself. You reflect, and you move on. Because continuing even with discomfort is like creating a new pattern, a healthy pattern, a pattern that honors you. And in a few weeks, you'll wake up one day and realize that weight is gone, that you breathe easier, that you smile more genuinely, and you'll look back on Sunday and understand, that was it. That's what you needed. Not the other person's reaction, not the result, but the act of finally putting yourself first, and you'll wonder why you waited so long. And the answer is because you weren't ready, but now you are. And Sunday, you're going to prove it. To you, not to anyone else, to you. Because ultimately, it's not about the other person. It never was. It's about you stopping abandoning yourself. It's about you stopping betraying yourself. It's about you finally choosing yourself with the same intensity that you've always chosen others. And when you do that, when you truly do that, everything changes. The right people stay, the wrong ones leave, and you finally have room to breathe, to grow, to be who you always were but never allowed yourself to be because you were too busy being who everyone needed you to be. So Sunday isn't the end. It's a beginning. It's a gateway. It's the day you stop living for external harmony and start living for inner integrity. And integrity? Integrity is what you take to the grave. Not approval, not being liked by everyone. Integrity. And you already know what to do. You always knew. You were just waiting for permission. So here it is. You are officially allowed. Allowed to say no. Allowed to set boundaries. Allowed to put your needs first without over-justifying yourself. Now it's going to happen. Use the remaining days to prepare. And when Sunday arrives, you'll be ready. And you'll do what needs to be done. Not because it's easy, but because it's right. And Libra, in the end, always chooses what's right. Even when it costs. Especially when it costs. Because that's when you discover who you really are.